welcome all of you here. We're ready to start. And just a big thank you to everyone for showing up today. This is the biggest dev camp. 1,500 people, as you all know, have signed up for this dev camp. So we're kind of excited. And it's also a bit of an experiment to see how we can hold 1,500 people together in a space. Um, so, so I will also say welcome to the experiment. Um, a big thank you to the community members for bringing all of this together and making all of it happen. They're all, you'll meet some of them shortly. They're all part of this effort and are doing this, purely because of the love for Holochain. And so it's kind of cool to see 1,500 people coming together to explore Holochain purely out of some kind of voluntary basis. It's got to be, an interesting, and it's got to be a pretty cool thing in itself. So I'm as always, I'm very excited to see how dev camps go because I just love the vibe and spirit of these kinds of gatherings. Um, and so with that, we'll move into. I'd love for all of these community members to introduce themselves. You've met Eric and Carolyn, who are part of the Holo team. I'm Sid, also a community member. I'm part of a project called Neighborhoods, but I'm gonna introduce some of, or call on some of the community members who are organizing this to introduce themselves. And maybe we start with you, Nastasia, since we're going to be hearing a lot from you today.
Sure, thank you, Sid. So, hello everyone. My name is Nastasia. I am based near Moscow in Russia, and I would be walking you through the lots of content during this dev camp. I'm a software engineer, and I'm currently in between the jobs, which gives me time to hold this dev camp. And I am very looking forward to learning twice as much about Holochain as I do now after the dev camp finishes, because I would be answering all of your questions. And with that being said, Guillem, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So hi everyone, I'm Guillem Cordoba, based really close to Barcelona. I'm a software engineer as well, and I have been around the Holochain community for like what, three years, 2 years and a half, something like that. And like I really love the project and everything that we can begin to experiment with it. And I'm working around and in different projects. So yeah, it's really excited to have all of you here. Sid, do you want to call on or should I?
Sure, I can call on Hidayat and then Tats.
So, my name is Hedayat. Hello, everybody. I'm really happy to see all of you here. So, it is a couple of years with others. We are actively working in Holochain. And basically, we try to learn at first and share our knowledge to others. So, inside the community, we first love each other and then technology. Warm welcome. I really looking forward to see this journey to sharing the knowledge from community to newcomers. And also, I hope one day you do the same and share the knowledge to others. I love you. Let's go to that.
Hello, everybody. I'm Tats. I'm based in Tokyo, Japan. And I've been in the Holochain community for probably like 2.5 years, mostly 3 years as well. And I'm really excited to see everyone here. And it's just crazy to hear that we've had 1,000 signups and now 100 plus participants in the Zoom call. This is probably the first time I've been in a Zoom call where there are more than 100 people in it too. So really exciting. And I am a software engineer as well, involved in the project called Kizuna, messaging application. And so I'm mostly here to support, answer questions, anything. And I'm also holding the Asia Pacific time zone support group happening on every Saturday. So yeah, I'm excited to learn together with you guys. And yeah, that's all.
Thank you. Lily and Thomas, you want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. Hi, I'm Lily. I'm based in New Jersey, the US. US. I learned about Holochain, started my journey, I think 2018 or 2019, somewhere around there. And it's been a fun journey. I love the community. I love how supportive and collaborative the whole community is. I'm so glad to see that it's grown tremendously in the last couple of years. And great to see so many people just embracing this platform and curious about it, to learn about this platform, and just continuing to be so excited to learn more about Holochain and getting to know everybody better. Thank you. Thomas?
Yeah, hi, I'm Thomas. Currently mostly in Western Europe. I following the Holochain story for I think it must be 3 years, 3 physical presence hackathons. And yeah, I'm excited to see so much has been achieved recently, and I'm excited to help out and yeah, welcome, connect with other developers.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the team who's on here that I can't see because there's so many people? Please reveal yourselves now. You'll see them through the week. There's Jakob, there's Tim, there's Peter, there's Sam, there's a few other names that will come through the space, and we will introduce them to you. And of course, you've already met Carolyn and Bear. I think we can jump right into it. I'll just lay out the structure for today's session. We've got 2 presentations first up. The first one by Nastasia is why Holochain, and I think that's going to be a more higher level 3 to 5 minute presentation on why you would think of Holochain and what's interesting about it. Then that'll be followed up by a 10-minute presentation, which will be more technical, which will get into the architecture of Holochain for about 10 minutes, again by Nastasia. And we then have a demo, which is very interesting because, yeah, I think it's the first time we're demoing something so early on in Holochain, which I think was a gamble. Like I could, I was part of some of those discussions about it. And so I think it'll be cool to see a demo so early on in the session. We'll then have a break, and then we'll have Q&A. And so that's how today's session is structured. You want to get into it? Yeah, anything else, please ping me. But yeah, Nastasia, all yours.
Thank you, Sid. Just give me a second while I'm sharing my screen, and I will start presenting. So can you all see my screen? Okay, cool.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, just as a side note, I only see 4 people on the side of my screen, so I wouldn't know anything written in the chat or shown on the video. So yeah, this is a short Holochain intro, just to give you context on what Holochain is and why would you want to use it in the first place. During the DevCamp, we are trying to allow more time for the Q&A and interactive communications. So I wouldn't be covering a lot of small details that are already covered in the Holochain materials. So that would be just something for you to set up the context. And as a backend engineer, I decided to drop some of the designs, so my slides wouldn't be the prettiest ones you see. Paul Daust has made much better drawings on the official Holochain site. So with that, why would you want to use Holochain? Holochain, first of all, what is this, the Holochain? It's an open source framework for decentralized data, which allows you to build applications where data integration, data storage, and networking are already taken care of by the platform. And as a platform for application development, Holochain offers you data ownership, which is not offered by decentralized platforms because of its design. So since it's a decentralized platform, the user data is always linked to the execution environment that user is running. So it stays either on their own devices from which this data is being shared, or within the network where this data is being used. So for example, if I create a chat with an organizer team and I want to share photos of my cat, then this photo would only be stored on my device and some of the devices of organizers for the redundancy and data replication. Second, Holochain offers truly efficient decentralization, unlike some blockchain platforms, because it doesn't have any central consensus overhead, which those platforms are plagued by. And the third one is that data integrity in a decentralized platform is actually enforced on the platform level, which means that it would be easier for a developer to write code which would be difficult to hack by bad actors. And also the network itself, network of multiple nodes, would be better protected and its data integrity would be enforced in more ways than in some other platforms. So now let me focus on the data ownership part of the value proposition. So you would often hear things about data centricity or agent centricity. And when I just started learning about Holochain, this agent-centric approach didn't make sense to me because, well, I've only been developing centralized backends so far before the Holochain, and I didn't know anything about other ways to do things. So data didn't make much sense for me as a concept, and I didn't think of data as something that could be coupled together with an agent. But the difference here is that in centralized platforms, which are data-centric, you can have data without users. For example, you could have an SQL database where you store some data, and you don't actually care what are the devices which are connected to this database right now. You can take on the data on itself and continue to work with it. Opposed to that is an agent-centric approach in which agents who are creating the data are actually inseparable from this data because they are the ones who are serving the data and making decisions about its availability. Next step is efficient decentralization. So Holochain has something called eventual consistency, which means that you don't have to wait for data to be propagated across the entire network for your action with this data to be considered by platform as something that already happened. For example, if I want to send the same picture of my cat to someone else on the chat, I only need to perform this action having connection with some other node. For example, someone whom I want to send the picture to. And then I don't have to wait for any data propagation to central servers and backup storages and anything else. And I don't have to do any other steps. So it's enough to work locally with some of the nodes that you are able to connect to. We'll get back to this issue during the DevCamp multiple times because it's a very essential topic. So right now, my goal is just to set up the foundation for you to not be confused by the eventual consistency term. And the third one is data integrity. So in Holochain, you would have actually two different ways of reasoning about your data. You would have the data model, which would map quite well to standard SQL database schemas or something like that. And then you would have the validation logic, which is actually a part of the data model, but it's written in a different way. What this means is that the data integrity logic that you define for your data can be enforced on multiple levels. First level is something that you would be familiar with from decentralized development, which is when a user or some client application is trying to produce new data, let's say provide input for the API. And you have some data validation at that step. And this is the same step that's being enforced in Holochain for every single agent. So you try to provide some data to the backend, and then before this data is being propagated anywhere else, it's being validated on this first step. And then second, the same data would be cross-validated by other nodes after you committed your initial input, which would mean that first, you are protected from doing something that would break data integrity. And second, you are protected from other peers who would be doing something that would compromise this data integrity. And that's an interesting design point because I haven't seen this focus on data integrity in some other places, but my experience is quite limited in that regard. So yeah, that is like my attempt to answer why would you want to use Holochain and how it's different from the rest of the platforms. But without actual technical details, I don't think it makes much sense. So I would proceed into the architectural part of the presentation. So here is a very schematic drawing of different layers that are involved in Holochain execution. And Holochain as an execution environment is basically a virtual environment for executing WASM code that you have written in some language which allows this WASM compilation. So if I would start from the lowest level, you would have some operational system which is hosting your Holochain conductor, and then all of the runtime for Holochain is contained inside the Holochain conductor, which takes care of networking, ensuring everything with data works well. It executes the WASM compiled code of all the applications that are running on the conductor. It also takes care of the cryptography and signing and data flow and storage. And I have just not seen that my fonts are not the right size. Sorry about that. So here, Holochain conductor, it takes care of networking both on the local, so it executes multiple applications, and some of those applications would want to communicate with each other. That's what conductor is for. As well as, so second part of networking is conducting other conductors to form actual decentralized networks. And that is also taken care by the conductor. Everything that you write on your Holochain backend is actually compiled into WebAssembly code, which is WASM, and then executed by the conductor in a sandbox, which is separate for every application. The basic unit of execution for any Holochain application is called DNA, and that's something that we would be covering later. For now, you can just think of the word DNA being a replacement for your application, basically. So conductor sandboxes every application and only exposes certain functions to the WebAssembly code that's being executed for this application. And with WebAssembly being used in this stack, there are certain implications that follow which would affect your design choices. So first of all, the reasons for choosing the WebAssembly for Holochain is that it's independent from a specific language, because you can execute, if you're executing WebAssembly, then you don't care about the source language as long as it compiles into the WebAssembly. Right now, you can only write Holochain backends in Rust, which compiles into WebAssembly, because the development kits for other languages haven't been created yet. But for the future extensibility plans, it would be easier to work with something that's language agnostic. And the second reason is that executing everything in WebAssembly makes for much higher performance than selecting some specific language. But with all those advantages come some implications that make developing Holochain applications in Rust a bit more different than vanilla Rust applications with the standard stack. So first of all, since your code is being executed inside this virtual environment, it doesn't have any access to the native operational system functions, which means that some standard Rust crates, for example, HTTP1, wouldn't work properly inside the Holochain application. And even more so, there are only certain functions being exposed, so that could further limit your crate usage. The good news is that since Holochain taking care of networking and data flows, you wouldn't need that many Rust crates. I mean, there are just not many Rust crates that would work with Holochain and actually useful in this environment. And then the last gotcha is that not all Rust code actually compiles to WebAssembly. So there would be some edge cases with some specific features related to compiler, or some edge cases where you wouldn't be able to translate the Rust code that you have running on vanilla Rust into a Holochain application. But from my experience of being in Holochain community and learning how different projects are working, and working on a Holochain project myself, I mean, one of the applications that are running on Holochain, I would say that I have never had this problem of wanting to use some crate but not being able to. So I do not think that it's a major issue, for now at least. oh god, the titles. Okay, so the networking that Holochain Conductor takes care of for you. So this is a decentralized platform. So you would imagine there would be some workarounds to allow the true decentralization. And one of these workarounds is the bootstrap services. So each service is basically a registry of running applications, their UIDs, and then the IP addresses on which they run. And so every bootstrap service knows about certain set of conductors and knows where to find them and serves as a proxy for those conductors to connect to. So for example, if we had 1 and 2 conductors that are already communicating with each other and running in the same network, they are both registered in the bootstrap service. Now we have the third conductor which wants to join this network, but it doesn't know where to go. In which case this conductor would connect the bootstrap service, make a query for the conductor's running application it's also running itself. And then once it has the IP addresses and all the necessary information, it would initiate the direct network communication between those conductors. So bootstrap service is only there to make the initial meet and greet, and it's not used to route all the traffic between the conductors while the application is running. So that's the first step of the decentralized network. But then if you know about NAT and network configuration, you may ask, okay, so what if I do not have a public IP address to connect to? In which case, oh, sorry about that, you could be using a Holochain proxy, which can be set up by anyone who wants to do this, which would work in the following way. So let's say if we have 3 conductors, all of them having public IP addresses, there is no problem. They can all connect with each other and they do not do any network translation or anything like it. But if there is a certain conductor which doesn't have its own public IP address, and for example, they get assigned a new one every time they initiate a session with a network provider, they could go to the proxy, which has a public IP address, and register themselves there. From which point the proxy would actually serve as a middleman for all of the traffic which goes between this conductor and those 2. The traffic wouldn't be seen by the proxy, so this is not a security problem. And every time this conductor would have a new IP address, it would update itself in the proxy register and continue, reestablish connections with those 2 conductors and then continue to run the application. And that takes care of the architecture intro.
Okay, so what I'm presenting today, this is like the first public demo of the Holochain launcher. And we are going to give links so that you can play with it on your computer and so on. But basically, well, this is it. Okay, so you
Just
have
real quick, Guillem, do you want
Yes.
to just share a little bit? There's one question that's come in, but I think it'll be important for them.
Sure.
Don't understand conductor exactly, but maybe
Right.
with the demo I will. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So
Does the conductor run one on each machine or multiple sandbox on one machine?
right. So a conductor is the name that a Holochain node has. Right. So this is a decentralized network. Each computer is running its own node. The name of that node in Holochain line is conductor. That's the simplest way of putting it. There is at least a conductor in each computer, and that conductor is running multiple apps or DNAs, like Nastasia has said before. You could run 2 conductors on the same PC, but that's not really the intended case. The intended case is that in your PC, you have 1 conductor, and that conductor is running as many applications as you want. Cool. So I think that answers the question for now, right, Sid? Okay, let's continue then. Okay, so the Holochain launcher, why the reason I'm really excited about this is because it's a way to have an executable that you can download in your desktop environment. You can execute, and it runs the conductor, and you can begin to install applications and begin to play with other people, right? So this is very minimalistic at the moment. So basically, it's a container. in which you can begin to install applications. And Nastasia and me are going to install Elemental Chess and Elemental Chat and play with each other for just a while. Okay, so let's install new app. And Nastasia, is it okay if we start with Elemental Chat?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and let's have as UID DevCamp like this.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to comment on what UID means for installing the application?
Right. Okay. So if you see here, it's a bit small, but change it to create a new network. So in Holochain, every application is its own network, right? So Elemental Chat is its own network, Elemental Chess is its own network, etc. But more than that, you can take the chat code, change this UID, which is a property, and create a whole new network every time that you change a UID, right? So the thing is that if I'm installing Elemental Chat without UID, I will be connected to other people that have installed Elemental Chat without UID. If I put the name DevCamp, then this is like saying I want to create a new network with the nickname DevCamp, and only the people that have installed the exact same application with the exact same UID are going to appear in your network. Okay, so I'll proceed and install the application. Okay, so you can see it's installed now, and this is running. I open it, and it brings up Elemental Chat. Tell us your nickname. Okay, DevCamp session number 1. Okay, let me know if you can see me, Nastasia.
Yeah, I can see. And hello there.
Like,
so I have just did the same process that Guillem did on his computer on mine. So we have got our connectors connecting and running the same network.
Yeah, and
How do we know you're not fooling us, Nastasia?
Spam a bit, like.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, like, and now I don't know. Put your name.
That's a very secure signature.
proof of humanity. Like we now know that it's not like recorded or anything like that. Okay, cool. So we have that, and then let's do the same for Elemental Chess.
So just a disclaimer that these are all applications that are already available. They wouldn't be developed during the DevCamp, and you can already play with them.
Yeah, we're going to give links for them in the chat, and yeah, we're really excited that people start playing already. So exactly the same UID and DevCamp. Okay, perfect. I'm going to open it, put my name to it. Okay, let me know when you are ready.
Yeah, I just created a profile.
Perfect. Oh, that's it's a joy. It's just a joy to see all this working the way it is now. Let's play chess. Okay, let's go. Like, and here we could have like a timer or whatever. Ooh, that's the king's gambit, no?
Maybe, yeah.
Whatever, and I can go back and invite other people. Like, but this is really chess specific, right? So okay, we have the demo basically. I'm threatened. I feel threatened by Nastasia, so I'm just going to resign when she makes a move.
Yep.
Okay. Too much for me to handle. Okay. And you can see. Small disclaimer. Right now, we are seeing some gossip issues with long-lived DHTs, but newly created ones work amazingly fine. So we'll keep you updated on the status of that. But we are really excited for you to try things out, and we want to help you troubleshoot. If you have any issue with installing both the launcher or running Holochain, we would like to know, because we are at the stage in which we want people to start experimenting with it, and we want to start fixing as many issues as possible. So yeah, I guess that's it.
Thanks. Just a real quick question on this. Are there private UIDs? Is a question that's coming from Dimitri.
Like define private. If private means that only you and I know it, yes.
I guess maybe they mean no one else can enter even if they know the UID.
Right. Yeah, that would be another mechanism that Holochain has, which is the membrane proof. Actually, if you see, okay, I closed it. So right now, Elemental Chess and Chat are open, but any other application could define here membrane proof. This is the proof that you have to give to the application to have the application figure out whether you're allowed or not into the network, right?
Like so knock, 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 what is the password kind of thing? Like what is, they need to know that password. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, this could be a password, this could be a signature, this could be a social triangulation, this could be whatever the application actually decides. So this mechanism is already implemented and works, but we don't have an application that implements membrane proof private, right? As soon as we have that, we are going to have decentralized private spaces, which is pretty cool.